Hello, everybody. Welcome to
Hey
Copilot
everyone.
and Coffee. How's it going?
Morning.
Morning, morning. Caleb, what you drinking today?
Good old coffee.
Good old coffee. Well, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Matt, you, what do you got?
I got the trusty Diet Mountain Dew.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's such a funny thing to drink. I'm going with coffee today. I need it. I need a little extra. But yeah, welcome everybody to Copilot and Coffee. If this is your first time here, this is where a handful of us just kind of come here and have casual conversation. Katie, blueberry coffee. Feel free to put in the chat what you're drinking today. Usually Caleb's drinking coconut water. So it's kind
It's
of
early
fun
in the
here.
morning. I need my coffee.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, if this is your first time here, we're Boyer and Associates, and we got a bunch of AI evangelists. We love talking about AI. We love talking about Copilot, and we keep it very, very casual. We try not to have too many slides, but sometimes, it just helps to have a visual. I'm in marketing, so it's always good to have a visual to speak to. But just at a high level, we try and stick to no formal agenda. We prep a little bit during the week and just sort of get together and talk about what we're hearing around AI, what's cool, what's new. So it's a mixed bag here. Scott, you're drinking coffee, raw eggs, and butter. Oh, you're one of those. I've heard about the butter and coffee. It's apparently very good for you. So good for you. Way to be healthy. Bring on the new year. Yeah. So because we have a lighter crowd than usual, one, I want to kind of assume that that's just due to people's schedules. People are busy. I get it. Let's, totally make this interactive. I don't know if Katie, if we can remove the ability where people can unmute themselves now. If not, we'll figure it out. But raise your hand, come off mute, chat with us. We have a few topics that we want to cover today, just based on our prep meetings, beyond the basics of just Copilot and M365. And this is inspired by Caleb. I don't know if you guys haven't linked in with Caleb. I'm just saying he puts out some really good stuff. I'm actually going to put the inspiration to this topic in the chat. It's a link to Caleb's most recent post. He was in Arizona, and especially as a marketer, I was blown away. He just stopped on Caleb, tell the story of where you were in Arizona.
So we were in Sedona and my girlfriend and I were going on a hike, brought my camera with me. We ended up climbing this giant mountain that I have no experience climbing mountains whatsoever. Um, got to the top and I'm like, this is a perfect spot to go ahead and record this video. I kind of had the idea and played around with the workflow agent before that, but I'm like, this is where I can get a cool little shot, get a snapshot of like the Boyer book bag in the mountains. So it was really cool.
He's my marketing show pony here, but I just thought it was so cool. Just very typical. Let's just stop everything. Very Microsofty, really, because Microsoft is constantly making all these announcements of new features, new functionality, and like, how does anyone keep up? Well, I guess they have to stop mid-hike when they're not even working and just sort of check it out, acknowledge it, and that's what Caleb did. That's why I love this video so much. But it really is going beyond the basics of Copilot and M365 today. And like you said, that workflow agent and the app builder agent discussion, kind of like, are we ready or not? Caleb, can you give a quick breakdown on what those two things even mean? What is the workflow agent?
Yeah, so the biggest thing with M365 Copilot is that the license itself is already super powerful. So like you get your Copilot in work and web across all your productivity apps, but now Microsoft's actually unlocking even more value by adding in some of these base agents like the workflow or the app builder agent. So the workflow agent allows you to kind of describe automation in natural language, and then it goes ahead and builds out the workflow for you. So you can say something like, hey, every Monday morning, give me a rundown of all my emails and send it to me via Teams message. And then it will go and actually build this out for you. On the app builder side, it's more so building out like a very lightweight app. So you can say like, hey, create an app to help me track my to-do items or something along the lines of that, something very simple. But the biggest thing with these two new agents is that you're able to use natural language to go ahead and do some low code development for you, what most people are calling like vibe coding now. So even
Wait,
if
say
you're
that
not the
again.
most
Sorry, hold on, Caleb. What are we calling it?
vibe coding, I don't know if you guys have heard that,
Like
but it's a very
VIBE, like it's a vibe.
Yeah.
Vibe.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm
So
in.
people are using tools like GitHub Copilot, ChatGPT to kind of assist them in the development. So even if you're not the most technical user, you can still kind of get your hands dirty. With that, there's a bunch of kind of limitations and caveats that I'm sure Matt, you would like to call out.
Yeah.
But I think it just shows like kind of the direction that we're headed, where even if you're not the most technical, you can still do some sort of low end development.
All right,
Mhm.
Matt, you're grinning. You're grinning. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. What do you got to say about it?
So I think one of the important things, Microsoft has really been talking a lot about frontier firms, and they're kind of starting to layer that into the product as they're introducing new agents and those types of things. So anytime that you see that word frontier, those are going to be things that I have yet to figure out exactly like what's the difference between preview and frontier. I don't think there's like an official definition from Microsoft on that, but just know that they're kind of cutting edge. You can kind of look at those things as preview features. So they're going to have some functionality, maybe not as much functionality as you need to, do like to implement something that might be, a company-wide app using the app builder, that kind of a thing. So one of the things when I evaluated the app builder, I think it's a cool idea. It's a great concept. It's kind of the first step in, making app building more, more interactive, more vibey, more, talk to an agent, let it do those things. But when you look at it under the hood, it's kind of using SharePoint and SharePoint lists. So that's something where, from an enterprise or a corporate level, you may not want to do that just because there's not as much security baked into SharePoint as there is in something like Dataverse. And then the other thing that stood out to me on the app builder side of things as well was the fact that once you build the app, you can't really change it. So,
Mm.
you've
Mm.
got, that those are kind of some of those things that I look at and say, is this something where us as a consulting firm are going to go in and say, yeah, let's use App Builder to build apps for our clients? Most likely not. But, for things that are one off and just managed maybe by a small group of people, two, three people or something that are, let's say, like keeping track of ticketing for an event or attendance for an event, those types of things. That's just kind of stand it up, throw it away kind of a thing. That's probably a good fit already for those types of things. And I would say kind of the same thing from that the workflow side of things is it's going to be something for personal productivity, not necessarily enterprise grade. Hey, we've got this process that we want to run and be able to monitor and track and all those things. It's more so for give me recaps, remind me of emails that I haven't followed up on, things like that that are just kind of one-to-one user to Copilot rather than, Copilot to, Copilot Studio to business essentially.
Yeah,
So,
and that's one of the biggest things I noticed too with like the workflows agent is that like if you were going to Power Platform and use like Power Automate or Copilot Studio, you have like 1,400 different connectors that you're able to use. I believe the connectors that you're able to use within that workflows agent is extremely limited compared to that. So like you lose a lot of functionality versus going into like the standard place where we normally build this out.
mhm.
And like Matt said, like you don't get that designer view. So even after you build out that first iteration, there's no way where you can kind of go into a more of a manual mode where you can go and make modifications after the fact.
Yeah, so it'd be more of a build the thing. Hey, it's not working exactly how I need it to, so I'm going to go create a new workflow or a new app and then
Hmm.
just kind of sunset the old one. But I think one of the great advantages of that though too is like we're putting, Microsoft's putting some pretty decent power into someone's hands that doesn't know anything about how to code or build Power Automate flows or build Copilot agents in Copilot Studio, those types of things. And when you do that, I think one of the big benefits there is, hey, I'm a user. I've done this now. I can think of other things that I need to automate, and I can take those things back to, that I might not be able to accomplish with these tools. I can take those to my IT team. I can take those to Boyer and Associates or my Microsoft partner, and start having some valuable conversations about how we might automate some processes there. So I think that's great.
That makes
Nice.
sense. And one thing I wanted to call out too is I called this out in the video, but it really comes down to like how good are you at prompting? And I feel like these tools can really enable users to get better at prompting. So as you're seeing things work well, or maybe things not work so well, you can kind of start to understand like, okay, if I put in these certain parameters into my initial prompts, I'll get a better end result. So
Mm.
then even when they're going to push out maybe a proposal or design to the development team or to a team like Boyer and Associates, we know kind of what the end results are looking to be instead of trying to pry that information after the fact. So it can kind of help with kind of the initial prompting.
Kendra says maybe good for tinkering and exploring. Is anyone on the call using any of this fun stuff? Is anyone building their own agents, workflows, app builders, all that? Not too technical. I mean, if you know me, Matt's probably like, oh, Addie's going to want this. Addie's going to ask for permissions to have something like this. They never give me permissions for anything because I just will sit and build and all. Yeah, Matt hasn't enabled it for me. See, that's where the security stuff comes in. You never know what you're going to get, but
yeah.
You know,
and that's a good thing to point out too, is like even these new features, if you're not ready to have it rolled out to your team, like you can shut them off. The stuff is always changing and you can really manage it how you prefer. If you want your team to have full access to it, you can set it up that way. Or if you want to limit it down and test it first, you can also do it that way.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Kendra says that she's menace. You know,
it's a takeaway. I'll have a peek here. I know I've used it internally, so I don't know why it's not showing up for everybody, but I can take a peek.
This is a topic that comes up often in these kinds of sessions, but sometimes it's hard to know where things are with Copilot. There's always a lot of changes. Microsoft changes logos, locations, names of things. How many times did they change the name for Microsoft 365 Copilot? As a marketer, I'm just going to say it drives me absolutely nuts. It means we're changing branding and things like that, but it also doesn't help always with that end user adoption, is knowing where to find things. I think this will kind of segue nicely into kind of where we wanted to go next when talking about Summit. Well, a lot of people I feel like would come to our booth, Caleb, and we'll kind of go back to what we're talking about when we say Summit. But I felt like people were like, wait, where does it sit? Is it an app? Is it in Teams? Where's the agent? What is this? Where does it lie? And even as an internal end user, and I like to think of myself, like I've said, a champion and, someone that's always striving to learn more and more about it and play with it and be a early adopter. It's sometimes tough for me to know where to go to find something, but that goes with any product. It's not just Copilot, not their fault. So, yeah. Well,
and it just shows that the product is getting better and better.
I agree.
Like there's new things coming out day by day. So maybe when you started using Copilot last year, it was just in Excel, just in your web chat, just in your work chat. But now you're getting all of these Microsoft build agents. You're getting all of these Boyer build agents. We're really unlocking the true capability of a $30 license a month.
Yeah. In case anyone was wondering, Caleb's actually an agent. We built him. Matt and I built him. This is all one big trick. This is the study on humans, how they interact with when you create someone like Caleb. Back to Summit. Okay. This hat. I got this hat at Summit. It's actually from another partner. And you know what? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There were a ton of partners at Summit and we were there and we went big. I put a picture in the chat. Caleb and I went and we had the axe throwing booth. So if anybody here was at Summit, you may have saw us. I hope you said hi. But we went, and I think it would be cool to do a bit of a recap on what we saw and heard. If you aren't familiar with what Summit is, it's the Dynamics Communities User Group event. They do it annually. I've been going to it on and off for 15 years, and I think I haven't gone to 15, but I've probably gone to 7 or 8. So I've gone to quite a few. There was no first timer. And I got to say, this year's I thought was the best one. And I'm not just talking about the booth and all that stuff, like just from an event perspective. I just thought it was an incredible event. We already signed up to do the same thing again next year. It was super exciting. What do you think? How do you think it went, Caleb? This was not your first one.
This is my second one. So I went last year in San Antonio, and I'd say like the big difference between the two, I completely agree, Addie. This is by far the best one out of the two that I've been to. But last year AI was like, it was probably a big concept, but it was really just a concept at the point in time. Like there wasn't a lot built out for it. People were still playing around with Copilot, but there wasn't a ton of agents, if any. There wasn't a lot of sessions of like how to do this, how to build that. Whereas now, like everyone's into the weeds of things. We have agents built. Microsoft has agents built. Every conversation is kind of revolving around Copilot and AI. So it's crazy to think how much has changed in the past year. But
Matt went 2 years ago. Yeah, Matt. I mean, you went 2 years ago, and I remember you and I went. Was it 2? Yeah, and we were in North Carolina, and you went in to be kind of our Frontier firm head into, there was a partner pre-day where it was dedicated to AI, but that was pretty much all they had at that time. What was that like, Matt?
Yeah, that was interesting. I think at that time, when I think back, it's like the Copilot licenses had just maybe become generally available, so we were
Hmm.
just starting to get our hands on it.
You
Uh,
weren't giving it to the rest of us, but yeah.
and yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to kind of think back, look back, and reflect on it. There's a lot of, I would say, more like thought leadership type stuff there. One of the things that stood out to me, which did not come to fruition, is I remember, someone fairly important, I think, in the Microsoft channel stood up and said, if you're not doing something with AI and thinking about how it's going to be everywhere in your business in the next 2 years, then you're not going to be around in 2 years, which I would say that that's generally not happened.
Right.
Um, but it's one of those
Scare
things where,
tactics. They were going with the fear mongering at the time. All right. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit. And I mean, I think some of it is, something that happens with every single new product, new feature that, comes out to the market. You look at something and say, can this solve all of our problems, or this can
Hmm.
solve all of our problems, before we really truly understood a lot of the capabilities. And it's amazing to see like what the product has done since then. Like we had Copilot Studio, or I mean, we had Copilot, and then we had Power Virtual Agents, I think is what it was at the time, which then morphed into Copilot Studio. There were some pretty bare bones capabilities there, but now you've got those same connectors that Caleb was talking about are now available through Copilot Studio. So we can, you know, touch 1,500 different systems. If they're not included there and they have APIs, we can build custom connectors to make our agents work with them. So the platform has definitely expanded, and Microsoft's done a great job, I would say, of like working on the extensibility of what can we do for things that we don't support natively out of the box. So that was pretty cool. One of the things I actually just was playing around with the other day. We're looking at some stuff for maybe some document generation for our statements of work and that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of playing around with that some. And it's like, on the extensibility front, one of the cool things that I saw was you can actually now start to bring your own model from the AI Foundry. So there's a couple thousand models that Microsoft makes available there that are fine tuned for very specific tasks. You
Hmm.
can deploy one of those models out in Foundry, and then you can connect that to Copilot Studio. So there's tons of document generation ones where it's like that's pretty awesome for uh, that's a pretty powerful piece to just be able to spin up a model and say, put it into the Copilot Studio agent, rather than have to figure out how to code around it.
For
So,
someone that might not know what the Azure Foundry is, can you explain that a
mhm.
little bit?
Yeah, so Azure Foundry is more of a pro code approach to AI. So, like I said, there's model catalogs in there. There's projects. There's different ways to build assistants there or agents there instead. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like the pro code developers place to go and build, complex AI implementations versus, Copilot Studio, where we want to just kind of interact with agents through Teams, through the Copilot agent itself being able, or Copilot itself being able to call agents in there. That stuff's great for Copilot Studio, but like, what happens when we want to integrate AI into an application as a whole, or some custom built application? We can use Foundry to do those types of things.
So is
So
that vibe code, or is it pro code, or is it low code? I
so
love this
you
name,
can
vibe
so
code.
vibe code is, I would say, not
Okay.
doesn't necessarily fall into any of those categories necessarily.
Okay.
It kind of
It's its own
stretches across
vibe.
all of them. The
All right.
concept with Vibe is you just are working with AI, prompting
Yep.
it, taking
Okay.
its changes, doing it, testing out what happens when those changes happen, coming back to the agent saying, hey, we need to fix X, Y, and Z,
Hmm.
letting the agent change those things, trying it out again, just kind of rinse and repeat all the way through the whole process. So
Wow. Wow. All right,
yeah.
Caleb, back to you. Now back to Summit. Now this was your second one. I will say, as somebody that's been to many, obviously, 10 years ago, they weren't talking about AI at Summit. That user group was actually um, modernized quite a bit if you think about it, because it used to be a GP user group. They used to have the AX user group. They used to have, these are all different ERPs and CRMs within Dynamics 365. The legacy stuff, that stuff has sort of started to fall off. Like I don't think I saw anybody from the AX user group there or anything. And now they've made a significant amount of room for topics around AI Copilot. Now, they're not calling it AI or Copilot Summit, but what were your thoughts you were attending sessions, you were talking to attendees. What do you think? How much AI was there?
I think there was a ton. They had like the Copilot Studio product team, so I'm always a big fan of that.
Now,
Dwayne Robinson over
fanboy.
at Microsoft is a great resource. I met him last year and kind of poked him with a bunch of questions this year, and I'll continue to do so as I keep playing around with everything. But overall, it was really good experience. I still think the most common thing is that both partners, customers, ISVs, everyone knows that like Copilot and AI is like a top priority. They know like kind of the overall functionalities of what it could possibly do, but they still haven't yet they haven't seen it in action, if that makes sense. So they're like, oh, like I know we have Copilot licenses, but we don't have it connected to our business applications. We haven't really seen agents work. We're trying to get it to be stood up, but they're still in like a work in progress. So I think that's where we really stood out, because we have a lot of this functionality built out already, and we took care of that kind of step one. So customers are coming to us and saying like, oh, like I know we need something, I just don't know what it can do. What could we do with it? And we can kind of show them like, okay, here's at least an idea, and then their
Yep.
brains kind of go wild from there.
I know. I think I'm still in that place because, when you're standing at a booth and you've got, 5,000 people around you, and fortunately, the Dynamics communities, they'll give you you can have little stickers and identifiers to know what user groups people are a part of, which was actually super helpful because, you'd see this person over here, oh, FNSCM. Well, now we know what kind of agents in AI to talk about with them. Oh, over here, Business Central. Oh, we know. Or you see the Microsoft badge. It's like, it helped us to kind of navigate those conversations because we have sort of, we got something to say about every Dynamics 365 workload and how it works with AI. But what I was kind of nervous about still to this day, are people ready to talk about AI? Do they want to hear that first, or are they still thinking, I'm here for that core database module, like get really deep into, the engine behind AI and the database and everything like that. So there were, one or two instances, and Caleb, you were there for that, where, I think the topic of AI, I don't know if I brought it up or someone else, I forget, but there was somebody that was at our booth that was so, I will say, anti-AI. She was so anti-Copilot, anti-agent, like she couldn't get away from me faster, and I'm barely even talking about it. I'm just, there's an agent, there's Copilot. What did she say, Caleb? She had a reason for it. Do you remember exactly what it was?
Yeah, I think it was something along the lines of like our team knows our systems, like we know what needs to be done.
Yes.
Because ultimately when we're designing agents and we're trying to kind of start these conversations, it's like, hey, what are the time consuming tasks or mundane tasks that your team is getting bogged down with? We're trying to take like technology out of it, and it was almost like, oh, there's none. There's none.
Nothing.
None at our
There's
company.
nothing.
Everyone knows what needs to be done. We're working as efficient as possible.
There's no
Um,
way an agent can help with efficiencies. And I felt bad for the people that work with her at that time. And she was sort of like, I was like, oh, but clearly she thinks highly of her staff. But like, gosh, I
yeah,
mean, get one of them in a room, be like, is everything perfect? Is everything
Yeah.
efficient? Like I can only imagine. Yeah, that man versus machine sort of concept came up for sure with her. And I said to her, I said, because there was no convincing her, and even I was trying. Caleb wasn't. Caleb, you were. I was a little probably pushier than you were, because I'm like, come on, what really? And what I asked her at the end, I said, ma'am, if you walk around this show and something sparks for you with AI, will you please come back and tell me? Like, just I'm dying to know how to crack her. Like what's gonna get her to say, oh, okay, well, wait, maybe AI can help me, even just herself. But yeah, it was tough to budge. But there, everybody seemed to be excited about something different. Matt, you just got big on my screen. You're the
yeah,
All
I
show
right.
can change
pony.
tree.
Ooh.
Yeah, that like all the pictures just kind of puzzled around. I love it. Um, yeah, attendees, when they'd start talking about their needs, and we'd just quickly demo some of the agents just on your phone. Like we weren't even breaking out the iPad or anything or the computer. It was just like, oh yeah, you can ask an agent this. And they were like, oh, I need that. We didn't get, that lady wouldn't let us show it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was a great show. Great
Yeah,
event.
and sometimes it just depends on like who you need to talk to at a specific company. Because if you talk to the employees that are doing a lot of the tasks on a day-to-day basis, like they can really uncover like, hey, we're spending probably a lot more time than we should be on this. So that's where like, especially if you're running a team, you're managing a large employee base, like maybe it is just having some one-on-one conversations with like, hey, like if there's anything you had to improve, or if there's any tasks we had to get off your plate, like what would that be? And maybe that's a good starting place for building an agent.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 We did.
I look at that as such a big opportunity rather than my people know everything and they know how to do everything. I look at that and as a consultant and just say, that sounds like a perfect time to get a bunch of people in a room and figure out where the process is not perfect, because no process is ever perfect, right? Always changing. But that sounds like a wonderful place to identify opportunities where some automation could really impact people and let them focus on their higher level tasks that they, need to devote their brain power to on a daily basis. I feel like I'm a broken record because I think I've said that on every single call, but that's
I'll
truly,
have to have a
it's
tally.
a lot of the time it's hard to figure out, oh, ROI, we put this agent in and we can tie it back to it's saving every single person 1 hour, which is leading to XYZ increased product sales or something like that. But
I mean, 5 minutes adds up if you think about it. If you're doing something
Mhm.
for 5 minutes every day and you're down to 2 minutes, you know what I mean? Or instant,
Yep.
whatever it is. We were putting together a case study right now for one of our customers using one of our agents just to be able to share that out to the world. And I mean, I was astounded at the outcomes and benefits that this customer was seeing from the one agent. And Matt, you just said, 1 hour. I mean, they were spending it was 1 to 2 days of in between time to get information because it was a manual thing. They would have to go and they would have to ask somebody for the information, and that person was busy. I mean, I think about how long it takes me to sometimes get back to an email or an internal request, right? Like there's a couple of pings that are still like lit up because I haven't written back to somebody, right? And instead, ask the agent, boom, they have it right there. Like 1 to 2 days of time for instance. So
yeah, and that's one of the biggest things where we're trying to just solve those cross-departmental delays. Someone like on marketing, you guys might be reaching out to me, but on IT, Matt's reaching out to me, and then there's like a bunch of different spots, and it's like you can only get to one person at a time. So if we can help cut that down, so we're not waiting a day or two, we're getting that in a few seconds. It's allows you to be more focused on the task at hand. And Matt, I think you called out a bunch of different times during our meetings where it's hard to kind of context switch. I think you said there's like a certain time parameter where like you can only switch topics or something like that.
Yeah, you can look. I think there's a bunch of studies out there, and I think it's somewhere between 3 and 15 minutes to switch context every time. So that's a lot.
That's a ton. That is a ton. And yeah, the amount of, I mean, I get a lot of pings. We are a company that communicates here at Boyer. If anybody, communication is good in any good partnership. We communicate a lot internally. And a lot of it is, where do I find this? Or do you have this? Or can I see this? Or how's this go? Questions. It's often questions. It's not statements, right? People aren't pinging people flat, hard stop and period statements. It's a question. They need something usually. And so, agents are a game changer just for that. And I get it. Sometimes it's hard to quantify that ROI, which, makes it tough to be like, oh, do we need this? It's like, you have no idea how much time is being spent there. So I don't know. I think it's great. I wish we could find that. I wish we could invite that woman to Copilot and Coffee and just have her just like a debate, right? Like bring her on here. Let's debate. Maybe that's a theme we need one time. Who wants to argue with us about AI and the benefits that you get? And be an interesting one. What do they have on TikTok? Like battles? You know what I'm talking about? Caleb, you probably do. You're Gen Z. Yeah, no, Matt, you wouldn't.
Sorry.
But yeah, they have battles and like try it. That'd be funny.
Matt, I thought you said you were on Debate Club at one point in time.
What? Wow. I can't believe I mentioned that to you, but yeah, I was
On
back
the
in
what?
the day. I was in debate.
Oh, Debate Club. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That
In
makes
high
sense.
school.
I should
Junior high and high school.
Oh, yes.
So
Yep. I bet you did great. Everybody said when I was growing up, oh, you'd make a great lawyer. So you know what that means. That's when people are saying, oh, you argue a lot, you push for a lot. So now here I am, not doing that.
Scott just dropped something into the chat too, kind of
Scott,
jumping
I
on
didn't
the whole vibe code theme. He said he just mentioned too there, I'm doing things with AI that I wouldn't have done before because of the time involved, things like complex stored procedures and SQL and that kind of stuff. I'm right there with you, Scott. I write so much more SQL now to like look at our Dataverse database and that kind of stuff, just kind of on the fly. And Copilot or ChatGPT is where I always start things. I'm good enough with SQL that I can look at stuff and say, nope, that filter's wrong, or I want to change XYZ. I need to return these fields. But my brain does not work fast enough for complex stuff. Like I need to take stuff from these three tables and get it all into one list. Copilot's fantastic at getting that stuff together for you, at least getting you a first pass. So it's like 85% of the way there. You run the thing and you can say, no, I need to tweak it and change it. So that's great.
And that's a big component too, where it's like, even if you just have a strong framework of like, you have some sort of development or SQL background, Copilot and these AI tools can really enable you to just do so much more that maybe you're not familiar with. You have that base framework, you can kind of work off of that. So you can call out where things might not be working, reprompt Copilot and get a better response out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to know if, I think about how much I've learned about my job and like strategies and marketing and things like that through Copilot. I've been doing this officially for over a little, I think almost 2 years now. No, a year. I don't even know. It's all a blur. But, I've worked in some semblance of marketing for 10, 15 years. And so, um, it's interesting to see how much collaboration happens, and it makes me think, I wonder if I could become a sequel writer if I were to go into you know what I mean? Like those are the stories we will be hearing one day. It's like, oh yeah, this person got Copilot and now they do this, or this person used Chat GPT to get an entire education and now they do this. I would say in the next couple of years, that's exactly what we're going to see. Maybe on resumes, we're going to see things like, your skill sets are how well you use AI. I don't know how you quantify that. We'll have to think about that one a little more for another day. But I mean, would you hire somebody that doesn't adopt AI today?
No, not a chance.
Well, I guess we couldn't quite hear. What about you,
No,
Caleb? Would you hire anybody?
And I'm working with a group of students at West Virginia right now, and that's like the first thing I asked them, like, how often are you using this? Because even when I was in school, ChatGPT was relatively new, and I was using it as much as I possibly could. And even starting my career, we got Copilot, and I immediately put it to work. So I think it's a big indicator, like, oh, are you using it? It's like, oh, I'm playing around with it, or versus like, no, it's helping me complete my day-to-day tasks every single day.
Yep.
Giving you back room, giving you back time. I remember, Katie, I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm not going to make you come off mute unless you want to, but I'll say, I remember when, Copilot was first turned on here at Boyer, you, as a writer, as someone that has that writing background, you were nervous, but I know you and I have talked for a couple of years now, how much it does help us with our writing. Obviously, we're not plagiarizing or using AI to write our content. That's not what we're trying to do, but it gives us back time with editing and that peer review. And, they say 92% of marketing is one of the biggest adopters of AI just because of that reason, like to sit and type it all out. Now you can do voice to Chat GPT or whatever you want, Copilot, all of it. It's amazing. All right, we're halfway through.
Really quick, don't move on from that topic. That's kind of one of the things too. We talked about how, hey, it's great at SQL and all this, that, and the other thing for those generative large language models. One of the things that I've noticed, it's not always awesome at like, hey, give me new ideas for X, Y, and Z. So I think that's a superpower that it gives marketing teams right there. To me, it's more about the ideas and the general structure of the content and what you want to cover when you're doing marketing, and less about like the words, right? Like the words are important, yes, but if you can give ChatGPT a great, hey, I want to write a blog post covering these three things and how they interact and da 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 da. If you can write a good prompt there, it can get you 95% of the way there with the actual writing, that the full content of the blog. But in my opinion, I don't think it's super great. Recently, we've been submitting for an AI summit, and I was trying to, use it to kind of help me collaborate. Not
Yep.
super awesome at coming up with ideas that don't already exist, right?
That don't
Same thing
already
with blogs,
exist.
like not great. Hey, every partner in the world has, written about XYZ topic, but what's the unique thing that we can write to stand out on, or what's the unique presentation that I can register for and be guaranteed a spot at a summit so that
Yep.
I know that I can talk. And it's
Is that
not
what you're
great at
asking?
that stuff.
Oh, well,
So
I submitted for that AI summit, and I actually, my topic is, and maybe we do a Copilot and coffee because I just think this is a blast,
I don't
which
know how you
is
got this out of there. You must have been working with it for a while.
which one
I
got
know
out of
where
what?
you're going. Are you doing the signs thing?
Well, I haven't gotten it approved yet. I haven't gotten it approved, but
Astrology and
well,
Copilot and how
it's
you should use
how
it.
to use Copilot
It's
based
brilliant.
on your personality type, whether it's Myers-Briggs, astrology, Clifton Strengths, Working Genius. I've got a whole spreadsheet based on
Working
me being an
genius.
INFJ or based on me being an Enneagram 2, I'm a people pleaser. I'm a helper. I, easily burn out because I don't delegate. So, how can Copilot help me with that? And Rihanna, Mr. Rogers, and Mary Poppins also, we all have the same personality. I think it's a great story. Now, I did come up with that in my own head because I felt guilty telling a coworker and dear friend. I said, she asked me where something was, and I said, you're going to need to ask Copilot for that. You got to ask Copilot. And that is another session, which is how to get people to ask Copilot before they come to you. And Cecilia Flombaum from Microsoft just said at Summit, I can assure you the response you're going to get from Copilot is better than what I'm going to tell you. You'll not only get it faster, but it'll be, um, for that internal information and resource using Copilot for work. Where is that PowerPoint? Well, guess what? Ask Copilot. And I felt guilty because I'm an Enneagram 2 and I'm a Pisces and all those fun things. But anyways, I did ask ChatGPT if there was anybody else that had kind of written about, presented on, or used that topic, or if there was any other sources. None, zero. So mine was original, but I was bringing my original thought to it, not asking for the original, for it to generate an original thought for me for Summit. So if anybody here works for the Summit community AI in San Diego in March and you're picking sessions, pick me, because I really want to present on it. I'm excited for it.
I
Yeah.
think if you don't get in, Eddie, I think you got to do it for one of the Copilot and coffees.
Deal. Yep.
Give me and Caleb a break for a week or something.
Exactly. I'm happy to do it. I mean, or you can give me, I mean, I know, Matt, I don't know your sign, but I know your working genius is the exact same as mine, which is terrifying. And then I don't know Caleb's, but yeah, give us your Enneagrams and your Myers-Briggs in the chat, and I'll provide you a free analysis of how Copilot can help you if you know them off the top of your head. But Scott's got questions here.
Yeah.
Integration of Claude AI into Copilot. I did see. I think I saw an actual commercial. Maybe it was just like an ad online or something, but about Claude being built into AI. We kind of covered that a little bit, Scott, but I don't know if anybody wants to call that out or, a
Yeah.
little bit of what we covered before
Yeah.
last week. So you weren't here, Scott, for that.
I started to respond a bit there.
Yep.
I'm not too familiar on the specific question about YAML, but one of the
Mhm.
things that Claude definitely, I think it's the Sonnet model that is available. It excels at code writing and execution. So that was a great ad. You can, at the tenant level, again, there's one of these settings where you've got to buddy up with your IT administrator or director
Mhm.
and get them to flip that option on. But then once it's on, we can pull it into Copilot Studio with custom agents. It shows up a little bit as well in just regular old Copilot. There's
Mhm.
the researcher agent, and that you can also, once that's flipped on tenant wide, you can use Claude instead of the GPT-5 deep thinking or whatever the heck that model is called from ChatGPT. You can flip Claude on and use that within the researcher agent as well. So
Yeah, and I just presented on the different Claude models recently, I think like a few weeks ago. So Scott, we can
Yep.
follow up with just like a breakdown of what each model is like the strengths of each model, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you can kind of pick and choose like, okay, let's use GPT-5 for this. Let's use GPT-4 for this. Let's use Claude Sonnet for this, that kind of thing. So it can kind of help with that.
Pricing was fun. I remember when I was doing a little research. Yeah, Scott, you might want to watch last week's episode if you are curious. Or was this a different session, Caleb, that you're presenting more on it, or was it our last?
I think we
Copilot
touched on it a little last session, and then I
Yep.
had another presentation where we talked about it.
Nice, yeah. Claude's the little old cute man sitting in the library, but very knowledgeable, very wise, more of a wizard. So it's cool to see Claude work with our overachieving business girl with Copilot. Nice to see them working together. I bet they get a lot done. But yeah, I remember one of the Claude, you know, it was like $80 a message for some code or something like that if you're going back and forth. Anyways, yeah. Well, speaking of, I was going to say, speaking of Copilot, that's all we're talking about, I guess. One thing we wanted to kind of touch on, and I'm curious if anybody on this call is using any, and that includes any, if we've got Boyer folks on the call, if anybody's using the existing built-in agents built into Dynamics 365, because this has come up quite a bit internally. I actually, in case people weren't familiar with which ones those are, I'm actually going to pull up my little presentation. Like I said, every once in a while we toss a slide up there.
Sorry, I had a wet blanket this one. We don't have any of them turned on really in our production environment yet, but we will by the end of this month.
I know. See, I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, that Copilot rollout, right? It doesn't happen overnight. You want to ensure you're doing what's best for the organization. So it's okay.
Noted time cards, Kendra. Sorry.
That's custom.
That one's a little rough. We got to reevaluate it again, but that one's a little rough. So
yeah.
Let's get to the slide here. I mean, this isn't, there was not anything I could find out there really that broke down each. I mean, I think in 2024, when I was looking back and trying to figure out what's actually built in now, I mean, they rolled out about 10 agents, I think, built into D365. And this is just high level, but Dynamics has actual agents that are built into the Dynamics 365 modules. I think the first one that came out, one of the so Copilot got rolled out, and then I think it was Copilot for Sales. That was their kind of launch built-in agent. And they say they have one for customer insights. I know it's not a formal one, but is anybody in the chat, you know, using any of these yet? No? Well, we'll let people keep typing. But when we were at Summit, the big ones were around what's built into Business Central, which you know, Caleb, are you playing around with those, or what are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, so like the two big ones out of Business Central are going to be like the payables agent and the sales order agent. So takes on some of that email OCR functionality where it will actively look at your email inbox. It'll indicate like, hey, this customer is looking for a quote for this specific item. Hey, this vendor just sent you a new purchase order, new purchase invoice. And instead of your team having to do that manual data entry of like, oh, let me go grab the PDF, have it side by side and type it in, it can kind of load it in using Copilot. And there's a bunch of checks and balances with it as well. So you don't have to just let it automatically import with no like kind of review. You can still like review the quote before it's sent out. You can review the invoice before it's posted. So you can kind of make sure it's ready before letting it rip.
Yeah. I think we did another event. It was one of the Microsoft AI tours, and you did a presentation, kind of you know, what we had built versus what is built into Business Central. And that was a great session, actually. We should share that one out.
One thing to call out with that too, because I think that's a big thing that is constantly getting brought up, especially when we're meeting with customers, is that there's going to be certain things that Microsoft builds out that's for the broad audience. Like they're trying to accommodate for their entire D365 sales users, Business Central users. So with those agents, there's some stuff that we can customize and kind of tailor. But for the most part, like if we really want to make it one-to-one for our customers, that's where we start to look at building out a custom Copilot Studio agent or a Foundry agent. So I know one of the customers we've met with recently, he's like, I almost prefer just building something custom just because then we can scale it. We can kind of pivot wherever we want rather than being boxed into the out-of-box solution.
Sure. Yeah. And Kendra brings up a good point. Not that it is an agent, but actively seeing summaries and CRM records. I think That's so true. Like the little changes that are being, enhancing the core modules, making little differences, but big differences. So I'll use my favorite thing to do now is, if I'm in our CRM and I want a view or I want to see something in more of a chart or graph or something like that. So I've got a view created and just having that on leads, like a little Copilot visual. It used to be visualize in Power BI, and I still use that every once in a while when I want a quick start at creating a cute little report. But being able to immediately have that, bar chart on leads created by source, leads created by, or, leads by owner, leads by month. And it's just a much faster way for me. Whereas before you'd have to go, into advanced settings to create a chart for a dashboard. And it was, now it's a couple clicks of a button. One big thing I keep saying is like the amount of clicks people are saving these days is pretty impressive. But I love the little co-pilot enhancements that are getting built in, whether they're an agent or not. Like I said, sometimes it's hard to figure out what is what. I did find putting a link in the chat for a super helpful resource, kind of based on use cases across different departments and teams. This is just a Microsoft Copilot scenarios. And then what it shows is also where things are built by, it's got a nice sort of search. So if you're searching by product, if you're searching by process or department, you can see different guides on the Copilot functionality within the solutions, whether it, and also what licenses they use and require and things like that. So that's super helpful. Matt, you're chatting in there. What are you guys talking about? Doc generation. Say it out loud.
Yeah. Kendra said she was a little bit more interested in the document generation piece. And I said that really the part that I found isn't super reliable yet, or I haven't found the right model to make it reliable is doing the formatting, right? It's like we like to show our customers pretty documents when we're asking them to sign something.
Do we?
I would say so.
I'm kidding. I'm in marketing. Of course we do.
So haven't found anything quite yet, but like I said in the chat there, I'm not going to quit. We'll keep kind of exploring and seeing what's available out there, and yeah, just kind of iterating. I think that's the thing that I like the most about Copilot is for all the mundane stuff, I can ask it all my questions that I need there, and then I can focus more on kind of that idea flow, I think is the concept that I can't remember the author, Dan something or another, put out there, but essentially the whole run things through repetitions, make different connections in your brain that you're not making yet. So,
oh, wow.
We'll keep going on that.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'm with you on Copilot and just AI in general. They really haven't perfected here's my template, here's the information I want in our template with our branding, with our this that. I have yet. So if anybody else, I'm willing to learn, or if somebody's like spent the time to figure out how to best get that sort of thing completed, share knowledge, share it in this chat. Come off mute. Let's, give me a demo on
So
how
one thing on
it
that
can work.
end, so
Go
for
ahead, Caleb.
PowerPoint generation, so this is separate from like the document generation tool that
Yep,
sits in Copilot
right.
Studio. But at least for like M365 Copilot and PowerPoint, there's actually a Copilot PowerPoint template that you can use to load in, like, say, like our Boyer branding and everything. And then you can use that as the base that Copilot will use to generate slides in the
He's
future.
looking for that. And I think I'll have to look back. I swear I tried it and it just was like, no, you got it wrong. But then again, could have been 2 months ago and now it's perfect, right? Things are moving fast, which is great. So that's why I say, like, I can't always, I'm sure a lot of people feel this, it's obviously Matt, Caleb, your job to stay on top of what's going on out there. It's not always the other end users, right? So I will just say I do appreciate both of you and all the other people out there that do stay ahead to be able to say, now this works, or now, oh, that pain point that you have can be solved here. Because if it weren't for the humans going in and learning about what AI does, I mean, I don't know what we would do. We'd have, pretty soon, I don't know. I don't know.
One thing I would say is I would strongly encourage communication. And just because, even if you're just an end user, like talk to your IT people, develop the relationship, have conversations, make them aware of things. I see stuff probably 2 to 4 times a week easily that I mean, it's too much, right? No one person, no two people can probably do
Yep.
it all. So send your IT person a, hey, did you see this feature is available? Do you think we
Oh,
could use
yeah.
it? Kind of a thing, or put
Uh-huh.
in a ticket or whatever your, internal processes are for that kind of stuff. But like I said, I get at least two things a week that as much as I might try to keep on top of everything, I'm like, yeah, never heard about that event or didn't
Right?
know this feature was coming. So I don't know if you see the same thing, Caleb, but
It's something's new every 2 seconds, I feel like.
mhm.
Yeah.
So that's where it's really key to like one, like you said, like call out to IT where there's new features that you want to test out, but then also call out like, hey, what's working well out of that new feature or what's not working well?
Mhm.
Because then we can kind of
Mhm.
tweak and make iterations of like, let's get it to
Yep.
the golden state.
Yep. Well, and even so, anytime you do something in a Microsoft product and something pops up and it says, "Oh, do you have 5 minutes to take a survey?" or "Did this work for you?" Or if you give it the thumbs up, I'm telling you, the thumbs ups and the thumbs down on certain things, whether it's in ChatGPT or whether it's in Copilot, wherever it is, go a very, very, very long way. And they go direct to product teams at Microsoft, and they review and track all of that stuff. So I mean, don't sit back and hate on a product or, complain. Definitely provide feedback to Microsoft if you're having an issue with something, because I promise you, they'll try and fix it. They don't know what they don't know. And that goes for anybody, right? But,
Mhm.
it does make those aren't going off into the ether. They got AI reviewing it. So you're good. We're just about at time. I really don't know if there's anything we had specific to cover today, but like I said, we got a smaller group. If there's things that I loved how active the chat was today. How do we feel about it? I think this has been my favorite episode, to be honest, just because it's
That's
good to
fun.
see people talking about it in here. So we want more of that. I think just FYI for repeat attendees, et cetera, we are going to pause Copilot and Coffee next month just because it's the holidays. People are busy. And we're gonna restart back up in January. Just, and gives us some time to like get some agents built for Christmas and stuff like that. Oh, that's the other thing we're gonna be doing. We are gonna be doing the 12 Agents of Christmas. That's coming up in starting December 1st. Haven't quite figured out what that actually means, but definitely kind of follow along with us, whether it's on LinkedIn or our newsletter, because we'll be sharing more about it, but definitely good promos and opportunities to get agents, or if you have ideas, we'll take them too. It's just staying one day ahead right now. Anything else you want to call out, Matt, Caleb? Anything fun and exciting that the people need to know?
I don't
The
have anything
one
top of mind today.
Oh, okay.
The one thing I just want to call out, especially since we're still on this slide, some of these agents within D365 do use Copilot credits. So that's going to be consumption based. So definitely can be something we can go a little bit more in detail with the X Copilot and Coffee to start off the new year. But definitely something to keep in mind. This is going to be consumption based for some of the agents. So
Can you give the briefest, Caleb, overview of what a
Oh my,
Copilot credit is?
no.
So Copilot credits, some agents are going to be free of charge if you're using the M365 Copilot license. So a lot of the agents that we're building kind of fall into that bucket, but there's some that Microsoft's releasing, like the payables agent, like the sales order agent, like the sales research agent, that do not fall into that bucket, and they require kind of pay as you go or Copilot credit packs. So for every action that you're doing within one of these agents, it may use 1 credit. It might 5 credits. I think credits start off at like a penny per credit. So it kind of ranges depending on the action that you're taking, whether it's retrieving data, whether it's using generative AI. So it's going to kind of vary depending on the use case, but just something we want to throw out there. You do
That's
get
Azure
25
consumption, right, Caleb?
correct.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's set up, you manage it. You
Yep.
pay, you set up a subscription through Azure
But
and then link it through
well,
the
so the
admin center.
reason I
So,
ask, and maybe this is something we need to circle back on because we haven't really talked about it, but I was looking into the it's the MAC consumption, MAC or MACC. So a customer's Azure consumption, some customers have an actual amount of Azure consumption they have to hit based on a contract they might have with Microsoft. And I'm almost positive these credits go towards that, something they are accountable for. So that was a teaser for a next episode, because I think that could be very valuable information for some people that actually, they're getting a discount on their Azure today because they have committed to consuming a certain amount of Azure. And maybe something's changed and they're not consuming as much as they did with that credit or with that contract. So it could be that an agent helps you achieve those goals, but I could be totally wrong. So
Yeah.
are
Couple
you saying,
things
yeah,
on
I'm
that. I
wrong?
would say no, you're not
Oh,
wrong.
okay.
It's the best rollout I think that Microsoft's ever had for some new feature that they don't quite know how to bill, I should say. So that's kind of nice. The other thing, I think, Caleb, I feel like you always say this. You only need one Copilot license and you get 25,000 free Copilot credits per month as part of that license. So it doesn't stack. It's not like if you have 10, you get 250,000. It's just one gives you 25,000. But even that, like the extensibility, like how you deploy those things, you can go into different environments. If you've got multiple Power Platform environments or multiple different work streams, you can go and say, I want to only allocate like 500 credits to this work stream and 10,000 to that work stream, kind of a thing. So you can control, and then you can say, okay, if we hit the limit, I want to roll over and start using pay as you go, or no, stop the agent. They've got a lot of good features in there as well of, I want to be notified when we get to 80% or 70% and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of good administrative tools. So yes, the cost may be unknown sometimes with, like, even when we're building agents, we'll have an idea about how many credits something should use, but we can monitor that stuff and, put customers at ease that you're not going to get a $10,000 bill because this agent ran 1,000,000 times because of XYZ thing that happened or something there either. So
something that we're always keeping top of mind when we're building out agents, like, okay, if we're building something out on the pay-as-you-go model, let's try to make it as lean as possible, versus if we're building it for customers that have licenses, we can be a little bit more flexible there.
Give it all away, right? It's just air. Just kidding. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining today. As always, reach out to myself, Matt, or Caleb if you have questions, or if you just want to talk AI, because we'll meet one-on-one. I think we're meeting with some folks that are on this call today later on. So great to see everybody. We look forward to seeing you again in January after our little holiday break. But yeah, have a great day and just prompt it. I won't wear a baseball hat again, but thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays. Bye.
Happy holidays. Take care, guys. Thank you.